Hey, you. Welcome back to the Narrative Reading Bible podcast. I am Jessica. Today, we're going to continue our reading of the book of Judges in book 2 of the Narrative Reading Bible. We're going to be reading pages 76 to 86. But before we dive into the reading, I want to remind you that we're following a 5-day reading plan. That's right, Monday through Friday, we're reading about 10 to 12 pages from the Narrative Reading Bible. And you can keep track of your reading plan by going to the Narrative Reading Bible website and viewing the calendar. It's also available to download, but my experience, if you have actually been following us from the beginning, is that sometimes I fall behind in recording these episodes, and it's just better if A, you actually have the physical book that you can read and not have to wait for me to publish these episodes, or B, you use the calendar that's available in the digital format, because as I update the schedule, you can see those changes live, as opposed to the PDF download, which I don't always publish for download. So go to the Narrative Reading Bible podcast website at narrativereadingbible.com, and you can access all those resources, including the reading plan, links to purchase the books on Amazon, facilitators guides, discussion questions, all the things that you would need to facilitate a reading group at church or wherever else you meet with your friends or family to read the Bible together. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and remember, we're reading from the Berean Standard Bible translation.
On that day, Deborah and Barak son of Abinoam sang this song: When the princes take the lead in Israel, when the people volunteer, bless the Lord. Listen, O kings, give ear, O princes. I will sing to the Lord. I will sing praise to the Lord, the God of Israel. O Lord, when you went out from Seir, when you marched from the land of Edom, the earth trembled, the heavens poured out rain, and the clouds poured down water. The mountains quaked before the Lord, the one of Sinai, before the Lord, the God of Israel. In the days of Shamgar, son of Anath, in the days of Jael, the highways were deserted, and the travelers took the byways. Life in the villages ceased. It ended in Israel, until I, Deborah, arose, a mother in Israel. When they chose new gods, then war came to their gates. Not a shield or spear was found. Among 40,000 in Israel, my heart is with the princes of Israel, with the volunteers among the people. Bless the Lord, you who ride white donkeys, who sit on saddle blankets, and you who travel the road, ponder the voices of the singers. At the watering places, there they shall recount the righteous acts of the Lord, the righteous deeds of his villagers in Israel. Then the people of the Lord went down to the gates. Awake, awake, O Deborah! Awake, awake, sing a song. Arise, O Barak, and take hold of your captives, O son of Abinoam. Then the survivors came down to the nobles. The people of the Lord came down to me against the mighty. Some came from Ephraim, with their roots in Amalek. Benjamin came with your people after you. The commanders came down from Machir, the bearers of the marshal's staff from Zebulun. The princes of Issachar were with Deborah, and Issachar was with Barak, rushing into the valley at his heels. In the clans of Reuben, there was great indecision. Why did you sit among the sheepfolds? To hear the whistling for the flocks. In the clans of Reuben, there was great indecision. Gilead remained beyond the Jordan. Dan, why did you linger by the ships? Asher stayed at the coast and remained in his harbors. Zebulun was a people who risked their lives. Naphtali, too, on the heights of the battlefield. Kings came and fought. Then the kings of Canaan fought at Tanakh, by the waters of Megiddo, but they took no plunder of silver. From the heavens the stars fought. From their courses they fought against Sisera. The river Kishon swept them away, the ancient river, the river Kishon. March on, O my soul, in strength. Then the hooves of horses thundered, the mad galloping of his stallions. Curse Meroz, says the angel of the Lord. Bitterly curse her inhabitants, for they did not come to help the Lord against the mighty. Most blessed among women is Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, most blessed of tent-dwelling women. He asked for water, and she gave him milk. In a magnificent bowl she brought him curds. She reached for the tent peg, her right hand for the workman's hammer. She struck Sisera and crushed his skull. She shattered and pierced his temple. At her feet he collapsed. He fell. There he lay still. At her feet he collapsed. He fell. Where he collapsed, there he fell dead. Sisera's mother looked through the window. She peered through the lattice and lamented, "Why is his chariot so long in coming? What has delayed the clatter of his chariots?" Her wisest ladies answer. Indeed, she keeps telling herself, "Are they not finding and dividing the spoil? A girl or two for each warrior, a plunder of dyed garments for Sisera, the spoil of embroidered garments. For the neck of the looter? So may all your enemies perish, O Lord, but may those who love you shine like the sun at its brightest." And the land had rest for 40 years. Again the Israelites did evil in the sight of the Lord. So he delivered them into the hand of Midian for 7 years, and the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. Because of the Midianites, the Israelites prepared shelters for themselves in the mountains, caves, and strongholds. Whenever the Israelites would plant their crops, the Midianites, Amalekites, and other people of the east would come up and invade them, encamping against them as far as Gaza and destroying the produce of the land. They left Israel with no sustenance, neither sheep nor oxen nor donkeys. For the Midianites came with their livestock and their tents like a great swarm of locusts. They and their camels were innumerable, and they entered the land to ravage it. Israel was greatly impoverished by Midian, and the Israelites cried out to the Lord. Now, when the Israelites cried out to the Lord because of Midian, he sent them a prophet who told them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I brought you up out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. I delivered you out of the hands of Egypt and all your oppressors. I drove them out before you and gave you their land. And I said to you, I am the Lord your God. You must not fear the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell. But you did not obey me." Then the angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon and said, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." "Please, my Lord," Gideon replied, "if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonders of which our fathers told us, saying, 'Has not the Lord brought us up out of Egypt?' But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hand of Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Am I not sending you?" "Please, my Lord," Gideon replied, "how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the youngest in my father's house." "Surely I will be with you," the Lord replied, "and you will strike down all the Midianites as one man." Gideon answered, "If I have found favor in your sight, give me a sign that it is you speaking with me. Please do not depart from this place until I return to you. Let me bring my offering and set it before you." And the Lord said, "I will stay until you return." So Gideon went in and prepared a young goat, and unleavened bread and an ephah of flour. He placed the meat in a basket and the broth in a pot, and brought them out to present to him under the oak. And the angel of God said to him, Take the meat and the unleavened bread, lay them on this rock, and pour out the broth. And Gideon did so. Then the angel of the Lord extended the tip of the staff that was in his hand and touched the meat and the unleavened bread. And fire flared from the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread. Then the angel of the Lord vanished from his sight. When Gideon realized that it was the angel of the Lord, he said, "Oh no, Lord God, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." But the Lord said to him, "Peace be with you. Do not be afraid, for you will not die." So Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and called it, "The Lord is Peace." To this day it stands in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. On that very night the Lord said to Gideon, "Take your father's young bull and a second bull 7 years old. Tear down your father's altar to Baal and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. Then build a proper altar to the Lord your God on the top of this stronghold. And with the wood of the Asherah pole you cut down, take the second bull and offer it as a burnt offering." So Gideon took 10 of his servants and did as the Lord had told him. But because he was too afraid of his father's household and the men of the city, he did it by night rather than in the daytime. When the men of the city got up in the morning, there was Baal's altar torn down, with the Asherah pole cut down beside it, and the second bull offered up on the newly built altar. "Who did this?" they said to one another. And after they had investigated thoroughly, they were told, "Gideon son of Joash did it." Then the men of the city said to Joash, "Bring out your son. He must die, because he has torn down Baal's altar and cut down the Asherah pole beside it." But Joash said to all who stood against him, "Are you contending for Baal? Are you trying to save him? Whoever pleads his case will be put to death by morning. If Baal is a god, let him contend for himself with the one who has torn down his altar." So on that day, Gideon was called Jerubbaal, that is to say, "Let Baal contend with him," because he had torn down Baal's altar. Then all the Midianites, Amalekites, and other people of the east gathered together, crossed over the Jordan, and camped in the valley of Jezreel. So the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, who blew the ram's horn and rallied the Abiezrites behind him. Calling them to arms, Gideon sent messengers throughout Manasseh, as well as Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, so that they came up to meet him. Then Gideon said to God, "If you are going to save Israel by my hand, as you have said, then behold, I will place a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew only on the fleece, and all the ground is dry, then I will know that you are going to save Israel by my hand, as you have said." And that is what happened. When Gideon arose the next morning, he squeezed the fleece and wrung out the dew, a bowl full of water. Then Gideon said to God, "Do not be angry with me. Let me speak one more time. Please allow me one more test with the fleece. This time let it be dry, and the ground covered with dew." And that night God did so. Only the fleece was dry, and dew covered the ground. Early in the morning, Jerubbaal, that is, Gideon, and all the men with him camped beside the spring of Harod. And the camp of Midian was north of them, in the valley near the hill of Moreh. Then the Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many people for me to deliver Midian into their hands, lest Israel glorify themselves over me, saying, 'My own hand has saved me.' Now, therefore, proclaim in the hearing of the people, 'Whoever is fearful and trembling may turn back and leave Mount Gilead.'" So 22,000 of them turned back, but 10,000 remained. Then the Lord said to Gideon, "There are still too many people. Take them down to the water, and I will sift them for you there. If I say to you, 'This one shall go with you,' he shall go. But if I say, 'This one shall not go with you,' he shall not go." So Gideon brought the people down to the water, and the Lord said to him, "Separate those who lap the water with their tongues. like a dog from those who kneel to drink. And the number of those who lapped the water with their hands to their mouths was 300 men. All the others knelt to drink. Then the Lord said to Gideon, "With the 300 men who lapped the water, I will save you and deliver the Midianites into your hand, but all the others are to go home." So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites to their tents, but kept the 300 men, who took charge of the provisions and ram's horns of the others. And the camp of Midian lay below him in the valley. That night the Lord said to Gideon, "Get up and go down against the camp, for I have delivered it into your hand. But if you are afraid to do so, then go down to the camp with your servant Purah and listen to what they are saying. Then your hands will be strengthened to attack the camp." So he went with Purah his servant to the outposts, where armed men were guarding the camp. Now the Midianites, Amalekites, and all the other people of the east had settled in the valley like a swarm of locusts, and their camels were as countless as the sand on the seashore. And as Gideon arrived, a man was telling his friend about a dream. "Behold, I had a dream," he said, "and I saw a loaf of barley bread come tumbling into the Midianite camp. It struck the tent so hard that the tent overturned and collapsed." His friend replied, "This is nothing less than the sword of Gideon son of Joash, the Israelite. God has delivered Midian and the whole camp into his hand." When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he bowed in worship. He returned to the camp of Israel and said, "Get up, for the Lord has delivered the camp of Midian into your hand." And he divided the 300 men into 3 companies and gave each man a ram's horn in one hand and a large jar in the other, containing a torch. "Watch me and do as I do," Gideon said. "When I come to the outskirts of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I and all who are with me blow our horns, then you are also to blow your horns from all around the camp and shout, 'For the Lord and for Gideon.'" Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the outskirts of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just after the changing of the guard. They blew their horns and broke the jars that were in their hands. The 3 companies blew their horns and shattered their jars. Holding the torches in their left hands and the horns in their right hands, they shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." Each Israelite took his position around the camp, and the entire Midianite army fled, crying out as they ran. And when the 300 rams' horns sounded, the Lord set all the men in the camp against one another with their swords. The army fled to Beth-shittah toward Zererah, as far as the border of Abel-Meholah near Tabbath. Then the men of Israel were called out from Naphtali, Asher, and all Manasseh, and they pursued the Midianites. Gideon sent messengers throughout the hill country of Ephraim to say, "Come down against the Midianites and seize the waters of the Jordan ahead of them as far as Beth-barah." So all the men of Ephraim were called out, and they captured the waters of the Jordan as far as Beth-barah. They also captured Oreb and Zeb, the 2 princes of Midian, and they killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb and Zeb at the winepress of Zeb. So they pursued the Midianites and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side of the Jordan. Then the men of Ephraim said to Gideon, "Why have you done this to us? Why did you fail to call us when you went to fight against Midian?" And they contended with him violently. But Gideon answered them, "Now what have I accomplished compared to you? Are not the gleanings of Ephraim better than the grape harvest of Abiezer? God has delivered Oreb and Zeb, the 2 princes of Midian, into your hand. What was I able to do compared to you?" When he had said this, their anger against him subsided. Then Gideon and his 300 men came to the Jordan and crossed it, exhausted yet still in pursuit. So Gideon said to the men of Succoth, "Please give my troops some bread, for they are exhausted, and I am still pursuing Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian." But the leaders of Succoth asked, "Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna already in your possession, that we should give bread to your army?" "Very well," Gideon replied. "When the Lord has delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into my hand, I will tear your flesh with the thorns and briars of the wilderness." From there he went up to Penuel and asked the same from them. But the men of Penuel gave the same response as the men of Succoth. So Gideon told the men of Penuel, "When I return in triumph, I will tear down this tower." Now Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkor with their army of about 15,000 men, all that were left of the armies of the people of the east. 120,000 swordsmen had already fallen, and Gideon went up by way of the caravan route east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and he attacked their army, taking them by surprise. When Zebah and Zalmunna fled, Gideon pursued and captured these two kings of Midian, routing their entire army. After this, Gideon son of Joash returned from the battle along the ascent of Heres. There he captured a young man of Succoth and interrogated him. The young man wrote down for him the names of the 77 leaders and elders of Succoth. And Gideon went to the men of Succoth and said, "Here are Zebah and Zalmunna, about whom you taunted me, saying, 'Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna already in your possession, that we should give bread to your weary men?'" Then he took the elders of the city, and using the thorns and briars of the wilderness, he disciplined the men of Succoth. He also pulled down the tower of Penuel and killed the men of the city. Next, Gideon asked Zebah and Zalmunna, "What kind of men did you kill at Tabor?" "Men like you," they answered, each one resembling the son of a king. "They were my brothers," Gideon replied, "the sons of my mother. As surely as the Lord lives, if you had let them live, I would not kill you." So he said to Jether, his firstborn, "Get up and kill them." But the young man did not draw his sword. He was fearful because he was still a youth. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said, "Get up and kill us yourself, for as the man is, so is his strength." So Gideon got up and killed Zebah and Zalmunna, and he took the crescent ornaments from the necks of their camels. Then the Israelites said to Gideon, "Rule over us, you and your son and grandson, for you have saved us from the hand of Midian." But Gideon replied, "I will not rule over you, nor will my son. The Lord shall rule over you." Then he added, "Let me make a request of you, that each of you give me an earring from his plunder." For the enemies had gold earrings because they were Ishmaelites. "We will give them gladly," they replied. So they spread out a garment, and each man threw an earring from his plunder onto it. The weight of the gold earrings he had requested was 1,700 shekels, in addition to the crescent ornaments, the pendants, the purple garments of the kings of Midian, and the chains from the necks of their camels. From all this Gideon made an ephod, which he placed in Ophrah, his hometown. But soon all Israel prostituted themselves by worshiping it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and his household. In this way, Midian was subdued before the Israelites and did not raise its head again. So the land had rest for 40 years in the days of Gideon, and he, Jerubbaal son of Joash, returned home and settled down. Gideon had 70 sons of his own, since he had many wives. His concubine, who dwelt in Shechem, also bore him a son, and he named him Abimelech. Later, Gideon son of Joash died at a ripe old age and was buried in the tomb of his father Joash in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And as soon as Gideon was dead, the Israelites turned and prostituted themselves with the Baals, and they set up Baal-berith as their god. The Israelites failed to remember the Lord their God, who had delivered them from the hands of all their enemies on every side. They did not show kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, that is, Gideon, for all the good things he had done for Israel. Now Abimelech son of Jerubbaal went to his mother's brothers at Shechem and said to them and to all the clan of his mother, "Please ask all the leaders of Shechem, is it better for you that 70 men, all the sons of Jerubbaal, rule over you, or just one man? Remember that I am your own flesh and blood." And when his mother's brothers spoke all these words about him in the presence of all the leaders of Shechem, their hearts were inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, "He is our brother." So they gave him 70 shekels of silver from the temple of Baal-berith, with which Abimelech hired some worthless and reckless men to follow him. He went to his father's house in Ophrah, and on one stone murdered his 70 brothers, the sons of Jerubbaal. But Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, survived, because he hid himself. Then all the leaders of Shechem and Beth Millo gathered beside the oak at the pillar in Shechem and proceeded to make Abimelech their king. When this was reported to Jotham, he climbed to the top of Mount Gerizim, raised his voice, and cried out, "Listen to me, O leaders of Shechem, and may God listen to you." One day the trees set out to anoint a king for themselves. They said to the olive tree, "Reign over us." But the olive tree replied, "Should I stop giving my oil, that honors both God and man, to hold sway over the trees?" Then the trees said to the fig tree, "Come and reign over us." But the fig tree replied, "Should I stop giving my sweetness and my good fruit to hold sway over the trees?" Then the trees said to the grapevine, "Come and reign over us." But the grapevine replied, "Should I stop giving my wine, that cheers both God and man, to hold sway over the trees?" Finally, all the trees said to the thorn bush, "Come and reign over us." But the thorn bush replied, "If you really are anointing me as king over you, come and find refuge in my shade, but if not, may fire come out of the thorn bush and consume the cedars of Lebanon." Now, if you have acted faithfully and honestly in making Abimelech king, if you have done well by Jerubbaal and his family, and if you have done to him as he deserves, for my father fought for you and risked his life to deliver you from the hand of Midian. But you have risen up against my father's house this day and killed his 70 sons on a single stone, and you have made Abimelech, the son of his maidservant, king over the leaders of Shechem, because he is your brother. If you have acted faithfully and honestly toward Jerubbaal and his house this day, then may you rejoice in Abimelech, and he in you. But if not, may fire come from Abimelech and consume the leaders of Shechem and Beth Millo, and may fire come from the leaders of Shechem and Beth Millo and consume Abimelech. Then Jotham ran away, escaping to Beer, and he lived there for fear of his brother Abimelech. After Abimelech had reigned over Israel for 3 years, God sent a spirit of animosity between Abimelech and the leaders of Shechem and caused them to treat Abimelech deceitfully, in order that the crime against the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come to justice and their blood be avenged on their brother Abimelech and on the leaders of Shechem who had helped him murder his brothers. The leaders of Shechem set up an ambush against Abimelech on the hilltops, and they robbed all who passed by them on the road. So this was reported to Abimelech.
I hope you enjoyed today's reading. Tune in tomorrow as we dive into pages 87 to 97 of Book 2. We are going to continue our reading of the Book of Judges. So brace yourselves and God bless.